What's up, everybody? I am Travesty.
And I am not Cartoon Joe. I'm actually Nubby the Amazing Turtle.
Right. Nubby, I appreciate you doing the show with me this weekend. Guys, Cartoon Joe won't be on this episode. He had a busy week that kind of flowed into the weekend and everything, but since we didn't get a chance to record last weekend because of another busy weekend, I figured I'd try to get something out here. And luckily, I do got another podcast where I have some co-hosts that are willing to help me out in a pinch, and that's why we get Nubby here today.
I mean, we are part of Freakin Studios. So.
That's true. That is 100% true, Nubby. And for those of you who don't know who Nubby is, he was on our last episode when we recorded a couple weeks ago, Nubby, or the Amazing Turtle, or Mike Brennan, or, Primetime Pimp, whatever you know him as, or if you know him in real life, Mike.
Butler Jones, Baines, I don't know.
God. Nubby used to train at Elite Pro with me. I know I've mentioned it a few times, and everyone knows my past about, as far as wrestling stuff, and I know you've been brought up a bunch of times when I do talk about wrestling. I talk about Elite Pro and everything, and when you sit there and think about like how that was 14, 15 years ago, it seems nuts to think about. But it's a cool idea that. God, I don't know how to make this sound not weird, but we found each other again, in a sense, because after Elite Pro, we really didn't stay in communication. We really didn't keep in touch with each other up until maybe like a year and a half ago or something like that. I know it was before I had you on as a guest, and I know you were on as a guest, I think, a few months before you became an actual mainstay on JFW.
Yeah, it was 2019, actually, at a show. We just happened.
Did we?
We were at a show together.
Wow, jeez, I don't fucking remember that.
DWA. 2019, DWA.
Okay.
Their first show outside that bar.
Okay. God, I can't believe that was 2019. For some reason, I only think it was like a couple years ago, but yeah, it had to have been. That whole beginning of 2020 up until maybe the beginning of 2022. So those 2 years, 2020, 2021, really just kind of screws up. First of all, we all know my memory's garbage.
Yeah.
But those 2 years really messed up my frame of time and shit. But I'll believe you when you say 2019, which is still a decade of not talking and not getting in touch with each other and shit like that. And, it's just life. Who really, stays in touch with like, a large handful of people over a course of many years. You always get a couple, like, one or two and shit like that. I mean, I still got friends, which I feel blessed about. I still got friends that, I've known for 20 something years. And I don't know a lot of people who have that anymore. I mean, you meet people. No, I mean, like my grandma talks about how like she's still friends with someone she went to high school with, which is fantastic. And my mom's friends, like she's reconnected with people from high school. But you just never hear people saying like, oh yeah, I've known this person for my whole life, since we were kids growing up and everything. And it seems like it has a lot to do with the fact that I think people just really focus more on wanting to get out of where they grew up. And especially when it comes to small towns, because I hear that shit all the time. It's like, oh, I can't wait till I get out of Peatone. I can't wait till I, move out of this town, which that's fine if that's their belief. But I always had a big belief in, like, you gotta be proud of where you came from, because that's who you are, and that's what made you who you are today. You live in the suburbs of Chicago. I guess it's technically a suburb of Chicago. And you grew up there?
Yeah.
So okay.
I pretty much grew up between, like, living in two different towns.
Yeah.
But I went to school in another for grade school to junior high. I was in another town for that because of the district thing, but I was mostly between Oak Lawn and where I'm at in hometown, and then went to school in Elsett. So great.
High school you went to Elsett?
No, for high school though, I went to Richards, which is in Oak Lawn. So,
what was your graduating class there? Do you remember?
2004.
How many people were in your graduating class? Not the year you graduated.
My bad. Still early, bro. Still early.
No, I know.
I think I don't even know.
I think I would. So
I don't even know.
I'm gonna guess it was probably like 500 plus. And
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. See, for me, like growing up, I'd have to double check, but I think I only had a little over 120 people in my graduating class. So it's like one of those things where like I get some, because I'm assuming, which is dumb to assume because it should be fact, but you do have a yearbook.
I do.
Yeah. So like with me, like I could thumb through my high school yearbook right now and I can see pictures of my graduating class and I can remember every single person without a problem and probably even remember some kind of communication with each and every person, whether it be good or bad. Some communication. Mm-hmm. I mean, where you grew up, where you went to school and everything, I'm assuming that's not really a thing with, that amount of people. Like right. If I, because actually, slightly on the depressive side, I just found out earlier this week that somebody from my graduation class died in a motorcycle accident. Sunday night, Monday morning, something like that. And, I got a text from one of my friends, who I went to school with, who I'm still friends with today. And she texted me a message. She's like, hey, so-and-so passed away, last night. And I was like, I mean, obviously I haven't heard the name since high school. But I still remember the guy. And it was weird because we were sitting here talking about the fact that that's probably the third person that we know of that has passed away from our graduating class. And everyone who's passed away so far, I remember, we weren't friends, we weren't really close and stuff, but we knew each other and stuff like that. But like when I sit there and I think about like school you went to, or even like a Lincoln Way in Frankfurt, New Lenox, stuff like that. I mean, like you're talking about like, graduating classes like 700 to 800 people. Mm-hmm. And there's just really no personal, relationship with that amount of people. I mean, my cousin, Shelby, Acid's sister, I mean, she was telling me like, like her graduating class, this was obviously years ago when we were talking about it, but like her graduating class, like there were people at the graduation that she probably never have seen before. Because the way the classes, everything are set up, like you never really see people. My class, you're guaranteed to at least end up in one class with somebody. And it just blows my mind to think that like, like there's a possibility that you could have spent 9 years of schooling with somebody you may have never met before. But one of the things that I really kind of want to talk about on this show, because we really don't plan anything out, that you just whatever pops in my head we talk about, is I want to talk about kind of like friendships and stuff like that. And obviously being in the wrestling business stuff, I want to talk about relationships and friendships in wrestling. And I want to dive into that in a little bit here. But before I do, I'll remind all you guys that this episode of this freaking show is brought to you by CarterComics.com. It's your one-stop shop for all your comic needs, whether it be graded or raw. Carter Comics has got them all. All you gotta do is go to CarterComics.com and check out their store. Look through all their amazing comics, throw them in the cart, and then at checkout, use the discount code FREAKNET, that's FREAKNET. You'll save 10% in your entire purchase. Not only at their store does the discount code FREAKNET work, but also at their 4 eBay accounts that they run. Links to all those can be found on the homepage, CarterComics.com. And you can bid or buy outright of those eBay accounts, and the discount code FREAKNET will save you 10% on those purchases as well. Basically, go there, spend $100, use the discount code, you end up only spending $90. So it's a pretty cool opportunity to build a collection of comics or continue to build a comic book collection or maybe even finish one, you can find them all at CarterComics.com. It's your one-stop shop for all your comic needs.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's why doing a sponsor on 2 different episodes is difficult. Because the entire time I'm staring at you, I keep saying, it's not JFW. It's not JFW. It's not JFW. But
great.
No, tell me about friendships with you, man. Let's start with the big part of it. You still got friends you went to high school with?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, even grade school, I'm still friends with people. Actually, on JFW, we have this feud with another podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Fourth Mother Box and Tom. Actually, and Kyle too, but mostly Tom. I've known Tom since we were in 3rd grade. He actually lived down the block for me for a good couple years, too. So,
yeah,
that's one friendship I've kept in my entire life.
That's the redheaded one?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm learning. I'm learning who these people are. Talk to me about about friendships in wrestling. I know you obviously been in the business a lot longer than I have, and you've been more well-traveled than I have in the wrestling business. So the opportunity you had to meet people is greater than, me. I think I consider a lot of people in SCW friends of mine because that's the place that I go to the most, that I work with the absolute most. IPW, probably a little bit more. Working with like Rion, I guess I consider Rion a friend. I don't want to speak out of turn on stuff like that. Steve, C-Red, obviously the Power Hour people, LIM people. Rocket Pro, not so much, I'll be honest with you. I don't really talk to anyone from there. Bros, I actually had a long conversation with the bigger one. That's a better way. I don't know a better way to put it because I can't remember his name. But I think he's the Tad one. Or Thad.
Brad or Tad, one of them. I think he's Brad. It looks like a Brad.
Okay, see, because in my mind it's Brad, and I would want to say Chad, but I know it's not Chad. It's a weird name, like a Tad or a Thad or some goofy shit.
One of them is Tad.
Tad? Okay,
I just don't remember which one is who.
Yeah. Well, that's where my friendship is with him, is I don't know his gimmick. Yeah. But I have been lucky enough so far, knock on wood, to not get into a situation where a friendship with somebody in this business becomes a problem, or a friendship where you think is a friendship really isn't. But I want to talk about that for a little bit, and I don't want names because I don't need to hear about who people really are and stuff like that. But has there been experiences in this business with you where you thought somebody was a friend and it turned out that just wasn't the case?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's happened. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear about stuff. Sure. I don't want any names. You don't gotta give up company names, the wrestler, whoever that. But I do want to hear some stories and some instances on, because I don't think really, other than people who watch like maybe like the Dark Side of the Ring and shit like that, so they like, they don't get like, they get like the stuff that you can see on TV, the stuff that you see like, but when it comes to like this level, which is like, I mean, and I consider like the stuff we do like more indie, not like the New Jack era of ECW and, Ring of Honor, Impact, stuff like that. But like the Midwest, like I know there's issues in this business and I hear about it. I've just never actually had to physically see it. And I never had to go through it yet. And I pray to God I never do. But share with me a story or two about the worst experiences, if you want to. You don't have to. You don't have to air your dirty laundry, but I want to hear about this business more from that side of it.
All right. So I think I've talked about this a little bit on just Freakin Wrestling, but never really in depth. So I joined a company back in 2017.
Yeah.
And the owner at the time, he wasn't easy to get along with. And you've heard horror stories. Like, even prior to that, I've worked with him at other companies, but he was never my boss, if you will. So we never really talked then. Off and on we did. I actually talked to his tag partner more, but I've known him the longest, like, almost personally, but not completely. But, so he started up a company with the other guy, and I joined, I think, 2 shows in, because I was actually contacted by his tag partner, or his partner in the company. And they wanted me to rep, so I repped that, and then I told them about, my turtle gimmick, and that's when I started doing the Battle Royals there. So as we started to get to know each other, me and the other owner, the guy hard to get along with, we started developing a friendship, but it was still, I wasn't ready to, take my guard down, whatever, or leave my guard up, whatever the phrase is.
Yeah.
But the more I was around him, I started to see a different side of him. Maybe he was just misunderstood after all these years. And there's parts of me that still thinks that he kind of is. Like, he's had moments of being a good person.
Yeah.
So I just, I started trusting him more, and then he started training me when he started the school. And then we got closer and closer, and, that's, I became a number 1 guy in his mind, I guess, and I was starting to help him more with the ring rentals and shit. But the friendship started to change when his real life relationships with other wrestlers changed. Mm-hmm. I mean, his personal relationship with the girls changed. We all, I'm sure you heard about that. And then once that changed, more and more things changed throughout the company. Now, I talked to him when this personal relationship was happening. I'm like, please don't let it spill into the company. That's all I ask. Because, we are on a fucking roll right now. But things started getting bad each month. Now, I'll just say the city because people get it. I call it the Posen Curse. I'll just leave it at that. So, every month things started happening, and then you just start seeing this other side of him that just people didn't like, and you start realizing that people were right about him, but you still wanted to stick with them, right? You still wanted, because he helped me a lot, and I will always be grateful for that, no doubt. But I still was seeing like how wrong he was, but I was afraid to tell him like how wrong he was, and then
you said you're afraid to tell him.
Yeah, because he was still intimidating to me.
So so you were afraid to tell him because of the effect it would have on your spot on the card, or you thought that he would just tear the shit out of you?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Because he was somebody that didn't like being wrong.
Well, see, so the whole idea of being worried about your spot on the card, that part, I mean, both parts, I believe, 100%, just because in this business you get a lot of people who take a lot of shit personally, and they'll either take it out on you or they'll take it out on your career. Because one thing I've learned in this business, is that, like, rumors get around, and it can, obviously it'll affect somebody's booking in this area. And it could be just that. It could just be a rumor. It could be one guy says something about somebody else that gets to another locker room, and without them learning or knowing the facts or what really happened, gets to another locker room. Because you guys, as wrestlers, you're not, it's not WWE where it's one company every single time. You wrestle, I want to say 5 companies right now? 4 companies?
I lost count. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I ref for 2, and I think wrestle for 3 or 4.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. So, and every time you go into SCW or crash tested IPW, RPW, CSW, when you walk into that locker room, yeah, you'll see some familiar faces, but there's always seems to be somebody new every single month. There's always somebody who's, you can sit there at SCW and there's a guy there. And when you go to CSW, yeah, that still guy could still be there, but also now you got somebody from Dreamwave.
Yeah.
And then you get to Rocket Pro Wrestling when I got somebody from JWA up in Wisconsin, or you go to IPW and you can see somebody from Frontline. And, it's like once somebody starts, has somebody on their mind, a topic on their mind of like some guy did something shitty, allegedly. Like just like I said, like unless you're there, you really don't know. And obviously stories get exaggerated. I mean, that's what pro wrestling is. It's an exaggeration of everything that could happen in life. Just like wrestling. There's supposed to be fights between two people, but they're exaggerated,
Yeah.
but that's what makes wrestling great. It's a theatrical way of expressing yourself through battles and fights and gladiator shit, stuff like that. But it's no different than being in the locker room when someone says, oh, hey, we think about bringing so-and-so in, and then you get some guy in the corner like, dude, you don't want to work with that guy. He did this, he did that, he did, he did this shit, blah, 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 and all of a sudden he's fucking, that story gets brought to that guy, and now that guy goes to another locker room. And like, dude, what so-and-so told me about this guy? Like, this guy did this and this. It's like, oh shit, now nobody wants to work with him. Nobody wants to fucking book him. But they don't know the true story. And I'm not saying that's every time. I mean, some of these true stories are real. Some of these stories are true. But you really don't know until you get it. I mean, there's been times where I talked to like people and I was like, oh, hey, have you ever heard about, this guy? I think he'd be a really cool guy to go see wrestle. I was like, dude, fuck that guy. Like, all he does is he always wants to go over. He never wanted to help anyone out. He fucked this dude's girlfriend, shit like that. He took fucking money without even fucking, wrestling the match and, goofy shit like that. But, it's the same way with bookers. Sometimes, the stuff that's said about him is true and stuff that's said about him is not, and so from your aspect, I can see why you wouldn't want to tell him, because the moment you say something to him, he go around, it's like, dude, fucking all Nubby wants to do is get involved in other people's shit. He wants to tell me how to run my business. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Now they think that you're a know-it-all. So I can see it from that point. But also at the same time, I don't think, I mean, if a dude want to kick your ass over you being honest, then, fuck that dude.
It's just crazy because at that time I knew everything that was going on about him.
Yeah.
Like, that's how close we were.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I didn't know what to believe on some things he said, but a lot of things I did witness, and you actually hit it on the head about, rumors going in locker rooms. So I was actually in another locker room where his life story that was going on at the time was spilled into it, and it's like, dude, that's not even accurate. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I ended up walking out of the locker room. I'm like, I can't hear it. I just don't want to deal with it.
Dude, and it's one thing, and I believe I know I've mentioned on JFW, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it here before. Being in the wrestling business is no different than being in fucking high school.
Uh-huh.
Everyone is involved in everybody's shit, and you're hearing stories that were told 4 times over by 3 different fucking people. And it's like half the time it's like, first off, yes, to anyone who does listen to JFW and this, I know I mentioned it, but yes, I don't go into the locker rooms, at these wrestling shows. I just don't. And one reason is I'm just not invited. Even if I'm working the show, I'm just not invited. Which I feel like if I do go back there, I should be invited regardless. But at the same time, I'm okay not being back there because I don't want to hear about this shit. I don't want to hear somebody whine because they're not going over this week and everything because they're a fucking star and they've been on, some top, rated, wrestling business. Like, oh, dude, I'm losing? Why do I want to lose? No, you don't want me to lose. I'm the guy. It's like, you're nobody. It's like, I'm sorry, but I don't want to be a dick, but you don't fucking walk into somebody else's business. Here's the thing. If you're taking a booking and you're getting paid by somebody, you're going to do what that guy fucking says. it's what the job is, and that's another weird thing too when it comes to wrestling is you guys don't have one boss. I mean, you do when you're at one show, but when you like for you, Nubby, perfect example. When you work at SCW, fucking, it's not the same boss as when you work at IPW or CTW or RPW. That's what being a contractor is. Your boss changes based on the shows you go to. But when you get certain guys, and if those who are listeners know who I'm talking about, well, it's pretty fucking obvious. But you don't walk in and tell the boss, my fans come to watch me win. They don't come to watch me fucking lose. No, I'm sorry. Your fans come to watch you fucking wrestle. They would love for you to fucking win. But if they don't, wouldn't that piss them off to the point that maybe they want to come back next month and see you possibly take the win?
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest part of the fucking pettiness that I hate when somebody walks in and tells the boss or the booker or whatever you want to call him yeah, I'm not losing tonight. If you want me to lose, I'm not going out there. It's like, dude, you're gonna get paid. Just do the job. I just never understood that shit.
People think they're entitled.
Yeah, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong, right?
No, you're 100% correct.
Yeah, it's
you don't go into a locker room and tell the owner, well, my girlfriend's here, and I don't want to lose in front of her. It's like, dude, this is wrestling. There's actually a point to losing and winning.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the show. I don't get these people. I would like to win all the time. Perfect example, I am a champion, right? Eventually, I'm gonna lose. Eventually, I can lose that belt anytime.
Yeah.
You think I'm gonna sit here and cry about it?
Yeah, what are you at? 133 right now? Or 140? Was it 140?
It was 135 on Monday. So.
All right, so you're 140 right now. Look at you! Look at you go.
It's I can lose any time. You think I'm gonna cry and be like, no, I want to keep it for so and so days. I want to beat Roman Reigns' record.
Right?
Dude, this is pro wrestling, and I'm excited for what's coming up in this season at Rocket Pro. So I'm not going to sit here and bitch about it. I'm going to embrace what's coming. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love to hold that belt forever, but I know it ain't going to happen.
No, but I mean, for me, if I ever got into wrestling, and next year could still be a possibility, who knows? But me, just like anyone else, would love to be a pro wrestler and win a championship. But I don't want to always hold the championship because I think the chase is half the fun of fucking being in the business. Is getting to that point. Because as soon as you achieve it, now you got to keep it. And that's all fun. That's all fun too. But then you kind of lose the essence of winning the title. And I've never been a champion. You would know better than me. Do you find it more fun to win the title or to retain the title? Because I know there's a different feel. There's got to be a different feeling in that.
There is definitely a different feeling, and retaining it is maybe a little bit more exciting, but at the same time, you feel that pressure. And it's not just going out there to win the title. It's more like the outside the box, if you will, when it comes to when it's the fans and everybody. Mm-hmm. You don't want them to lose interest in you.
Yeah.
So you want to keep their interest while you're a champion. Winning is half the battle. Mm-hmm. The other part is keeping their interest and doing stuff that keeps their eyes on you.
Yeah.
But people don't get it. But that's fine.
I'm waiting for a moment. It hasn't happened yet, but I think the one moment that would make me laugh the most if I ever witnessed it would be if a guy who's only coming in for a 3-show run, it's the guy would go up to the booker and say, listen, let me lose today and I'll lose next month. But then that third month, let me win the title. Let me become the champ. Just for the booker to be yeah, but you're leaving in 3 months and you're not going to be back for a while. I was yeah, but I could be champ. And then when I do come back, that's how much more. It's I want that moment to happen because I'm sure those moments have fucking happened. Like some dude is like maybe doing a one-off and like going away for like a while to like California, Texas, Florida, whatever it is, wanting to win the title. But if he's told he's losing, like, why would I lose? Let me win, let me be champion, and then just go away for a fucking year.
And the belt doesn't get defended? Yeah, that makes sense. Idiot.
Right? But there's people out there that I know would do that shit.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, that's what's nutty about this fucking business. It's just like people. There's a group of people. There's two types of groups. There's two groups in this business, I believe, where there's one group who wants to help out others as well as themselves, and then the other group only wants to focus on them. And I think the group that only focuses on them, I think they're the cancer in this fucking business. Because you do want to do well for yourself, but you want to do well for everybody. Because you want to keep wrestling, fun and exciting and entertaining for everybody. And especially, like, if you can sit there, and again, Nubby, I can use you as a perfect example. You walk into Rocket Pro Wrestling, and you get that huge-ass fucking pop. That makes everyone question, why the hell is that happening? And you carry that on to other companies that you work at. Like SCW. Hey, guys, let's put Nubby in the ring. Yeah, but why? He's the referee. He's like, because he fucking wrestles. He's like, yeah, but I don't know if anyone knows that. It's like, you won't know until you try it. And you come out the fucking SCW to that ring, and you still get a reaction. Even though your first match at SCW for high voltage, for me at least, because I guess you did say you did wrestle a match at SCW before. I didn't see it. But the first match I saw you wrestle was the first match of the high voltage show before the show. And you were the first match while people were still coming in. And it was still a loud pop, and it was only half the fucking crowd. Because people got excited to see you, because you made a name for yourself and you made yourself known. Because you showed that you could have good matches and still make yourself look good. You don't have to be like everyone else who's like, well, let me get over here. I'll give you a little bit of shine, but then I'll, tear you apart and then I'll go for the win. So it's like 90% of the match is this one fucking dude destroying the other guy because he needs to make himself look good. It's like, well, that's all well and good, but what does that do for the other guy?
Right.
Or if you don't want to,
team effort.
Yeah. Or if you lose, you don't want to lose cleanly. It's like wrestling is about back and forth. Like, everybody should be able to beat everybody. Like, that's why, like, and I don't want to speak negative of anybody, rest in peace, Wyndham Rotunda. I just never liked the Fiend gimmick. Just because he just seemed way too fucking powerful. Same thing I didn't like about when Brock Lesnar first came back. Way too, I hate gimmicks that are way too fucking powerful. Undertaker in the early 90s, did not fucking like it. Kane when he first came out, everyone should be beatable because it leaves you the excitement of who's going to fucking win. Like when they had matches with like Crash Holly versus The Undertaker. It's like, I don't want to see that because I know what's going to happen. Or Maven versus Triple H, shit like that. It's like, what's going to happen. But, when you put people up against each other, that's what makes it great. Like your match coming to Rocket Pro against, was it Bucky and who else?
Ryan Matthews.
Yeah. All of you guys appear to be beatable to the other person. And that's what makes it great about it. I mean, now if they stuck you in the ring with, I don't know, fucking Pac-Man and Timmy Too Sweet, I don't want to see that. Because you'll just destroy the fuck out of them.
Although I think that would be entertaining.
I think it would.
But we just can't. We can't hit Pac-Man in the face.
You can't hit him in the back of the head. He'll go blind.
No.
Yeah, you'll Helen Keller him in a fucking heartbeat. But I mean, it's just one of the things. Like, and I haven't watched a lot of CSW, but I think there's one guy that seems to kind of fall in line with that. But I could be wrong. Is that big dude there? The one that wrestled like some woman a few months back.
Shit. Who the hell?
He was like that he was that big ass dude that was in like that wheel match stipulation thing.
Oh, Doom Montgomery?
I don't know, man. No, that doesn't sound
He's
right.
he's the wheel guy.
No. The match had the guy was in the match that wheel was spun for. Who's the big fucking dude in the mask?
Oh shit, I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, hell's bells. I know he wrestled some woman that used to be like his handler or some shit a few months back.
Oh, Cypher.
Yeah, there we go. Is he
Heather
kind of like
Reckless
that?
was the
Yeah. Is he kind of like that, or am I just assuming? Yeah, an unbeatable.
unbeatable.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how his gimmick goes, because he can either be like a Kane or an Abyss. Two different things. Abyss is kind of a goofy type character at times, where Kane is more powerful and unbeatable. So Cypher can be both, and he has been both.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he comes out the Beastie Boys or something. So that should tell you what kind of gimmick he has. Love that dude, though. Love that.
Oh, man. Is there a company that is still active today that you have worked with that you wouldn't ever work with again? Or have you kind of found like a good relationship with every place you've been to?
For the most part, I've developed a good relationship with the companies. There is one company, but I didn't really have too much heat. It was more, I went up there for one show and I thought the pay was shit.
Mm.
And
how
does
that work? Run me through that. Yeah, actually run our fans through that. Run me through the process from getting, like, receiving a message about being booked to the end of the show. Run me through that process on how exactly it works.
It can work in different ways, but how this happened is actually someone came up to me personally, asked if I was available for a show to work for this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, I can get back to him.
Mm-hmm.
He told me the name, and I knew the guy. I knew the promoter. So I'm like, yeah, I'll let him know if I'm available or not. And I was, obviously, because I went to work for him. I messaged him, told him I'm available. But there was no discussion about pay then. Normally there is with a new company. But, whatever. So I went up there, I'm like, whatever, it's an opportunity, I guess. Different, it's different.
Yeah.
I've been in that state before, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And then I had fun, it was fine. But then at the end of the show, you get your pay, and it's like, fuck. Wow.
So you didn't know what you're getting paid until you got paid.
Right.
Okay. Do you feel that was a mistake on your part for not bringing it up, or is that on their side for not asking?
I think it's both. Because normally companies do ask, but sometimes they think in their mind that at the time, I was a referee for the show, and some companies think that referees should get paid this much compared to wrestlers, which is, I think, is bullshit, but that's just me. And it's more of the drive that I had the problem with. Because I'm going close to 2 hours out of my way, and I get this. It's kind of shitty, and that's why I haven't tried to, work for them again. No, and I have no heat with them. Yeah. I just think that I don't think I'd win the battle.
To put it in context, just so people out there know, how far into your career was this? Because it makes a huge difference if you're like 1 year in compared to 15.
This was in 2020, so
okay.
I'm already in the teens already, so gotcha. Over 15 years at that point.
So known, so already known, established, and everything. Right. It wasn't like just got out of Elite Pro, freshly had maybe like 3 or 4 matches and shit, and so, and I think that is important too. Because whenever I book, when I work with booking with SCW, and I have to reach out to guys and shit who've never been there before. The biggest question is, what's your rate? what the pay is and everything. And obviously everyone's different. If you're a tag team or you're a rookie or a veteran or whatever it is, it's all different and shit. And I have yet to have to deal with anyone who's like 6 months in and giving me a ridiculous fucking number because they feel they earned it and shit. And I think those times will come. I think a lot of it has to do with the ego that you develop at your home company. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I think pay does have to be based on travel and has to be based on years and experience and shit like that, and I know like when talking with, Hunter and all that shit, about who SCW has brought in and stuff, and it's like the bigger known people, like the Brian Cages and the Al Snows and all them and shit. It's like, you gotta pray you make enough tickets to cover the plane trip, the hotel, and all this accommodations and shit that they want. That's just like ridiculous. Yeah. So I think that's gonna, if I ever have my own company, that's gonna fucking be the point that deters me the most, is like having to call up a dozen, 15 guys and be like, hey, I want to work, I want you to come work the show. I just need to know what your rate is and everything. And all of a sudden getting a ridiculous number. I guess sit there and it's like, is this number justifiable for this guy? And I think, well, you and Steve, you guys used to book some shows.
We helped. We helped.
Okay.
We helped. But that's part of that discussion we were talking about when it comes to that friendship. Like, we were helping him because he helped us.
Yeah.
And here's the crazy part of the story. There was a point where he didn't pay somebody, and that started drama. Yeah. Well, there was a point where he was afraid to pay or not be able to pay the one show. He didn't have enough money to pay everybody what their rate was. So I took it upon myself because I was getting some money. And I'm like, all right, how about I offer this? And there was a promise that I get that money back eventually. So I'm like, all right. So I ended up getting hurt on that show, but that's okay. That's just karma biting me in the ass for helping him. So yeah, like, so that's why the friendship got fucked, because I still never got that money back, and he still owes another half, if you will, because of a show that so at that time he couldn't get the sponsor check until after the show. Yeah. So I would cover that check, that portion of the money, and then he gives me the check and I cash it.
Yeah. But
he didn't for the last show. He ended up dipping. Went to the after party. I don't know if he got the check. Mm-hmm. That I never asked. Because at that time, I'm like, I wanted to get away from him for a while. He caused so much stress on me. Because I think being friends with him and working for him did affect my bookings at the time. Yeah. So. Well, but yeah, I never got the money. Still haven't.
For those of you wondering,
why the friendship is fucked.
Yeah. For those of you wondering, that company's not around anymore.
No, I don't think ever will be.
And you can see why. Yeah, and again, and it goes kind of back to what we were talking about in the beginning is, stories and, hearsay from other people. Because I've heard the negatives. I've heard the negatives about this particular company. And actually, I believe if you know what I'm talking about, you do. A new company came out of spite of that company.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, he admits it. The owner of that company admits if it wasn't for that drama, this wouldn't have happened. Yeah. Now, to me, it's a little weird, but at the same time, working for that company, even though I wasn't supposed to, wink, wink, that's why I was afraid, like, that show I first saw you at, I was afraid to go. I was having anxiety driving to the show because I was actually, now, it wasn't, he didn't actually come out and say, don't work for that company or you're not working for me. He just, the way he said it, he gave me a guilt trip because of some other shit that was going on. But when I got to that show, of course someone's going to make that joke, oh, I'm going to tell them that you're here, blah, blah, blah. And of course my ass is sitting in the front row in the corner by the fucking stage. But yeah, it was kind of started because of that, but they've had a lot of success.
Yeah.
If you will. And I love working there. So I get treated well.
Yeah, and I think when you have people like your friend who sat there and said, like, well, don't go to that show. If you're supporting them, you're not supporting me and shit like that. There is a situation kind of right now that I'm in the middle of something like that, and I don't want to talk about it on the podcast, but I can tell you about when we're done. Just because I don't want to, again, blow into a bigger thing than what it actually is based on people's perspectives of how I word it. And you know better than anyone, I don't word things that well. Mm-hmm. So the way I talk about things, it sounds way worse than it actually is. We hear it repeated on the Power Hour all the time. So, but I'll tell you afterwards exactly what I'm talking about. But like, I understand what you went through because I kind of went through it, actually within the last couple of weeks where company.
Can I just add to that? That's like, put a bow on that friendship. So I was promised the money, but I understood the reason why I didn't get it at the time because he just moved with his girlfriend and he needed to make the money for the rent, whatever. I understood that. But here's the part of friendship that got fucked. Not once, and over those couple of years, after a year or so after that, did he reach out to me, see how I'm doing, or to tell me that he's working on the money. He completely just stayed silent, and that's when I realized he was not a friend. So yeah, that's like one story you'll hear in wrestling is not everybody's part of that brotherhood. And if he was, he would have been staying in contact with me. I always reached out to him about certain things because I was close to him and not his girlfriend anymore, but at the time they were together. I was close, and we would talk about his relationship, and I give him advice. But after a while, it's like, well, you're not seeing how I'm doing, so what's the point anymore?
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up, the whole brotherhood thing that comes into wrestling, because I mean that shit's real. For people who don't know, it's like there is a family feel once you get into this business, and it's not with everybody. And the longer I'm in it, the more I realize like who has that mentality and who doesn't. For anybody who saw the picture at Looms out in Frankfurt of all of us, like those people have that idea of it. You, Rion, C-Red, Steve, Max Holiday, Pac-Man, Jed, right?
Yeah. Funny thing about Jed, we didn't have a good friendship up until he brought back CTW because of all the shit that happened with CTW before in the LRP network. I actually went on live once and bitched about him, about something he did. But since then, we've been okay.
And now you're wrestling Crash Tested part. Is it Crash Tested 2 or Crash Tested Part 2 or whatever?
2.0.
2.0. But like when you get around people like that, like you kind of see that connection that people are willing to make with other people in this business. Like I didn't have to be, invited to breakfasts like that or be involved in like things like that. But it's cool when, you start, being acknowledged for shit, and it's like, I'm not one of the boys and stuff like that, like I was just a podcaster talking about pro wrestling. And yes, I had the training back in the day, and I throw my cousin's name around like it's a fucking frisbee, but I don't give a shit. I am bothered that I don't see Mike on the poster for WrestleTopia, and I'm gonna have to ask about that. Yeah, it's more of a cousin thing than anything, but you meet people, and a lot of them is actually companies as a whole. When you go in and say hi to them, then they just appear to not give a shit about you. And those are the companies I don't really care to do, any work or, be around at all anyways. But companies like STW and IPW have been very welcoming. And, I do appreciate IPW and the people behind the scenes there giving me an opportunity to do more at IPW when they made you and I host of the show.
Mm-hmm.
You were already established at IPW. People know who you were. I don't think they gave a damn about who I was, but it was cool because it brought me, in front of people. Well, it's cool being cheered by people. I think I got cheered just because you were there. Yeah, they booed you, buddy. Never heard that before. I've never heard Turtle get booed.
Half of them booed me.
Half
the
of
other
them,
half.
Yeah.
But it's the same people that boo me all the time until I wrestle somebody that they don't like.
Yeah, the trolls. The trolls boo you.
Oh yeah.
But dude, man,
those stiff biff.
Those Rocket Pro fucking pops, man. And that shit's real.
And I still get goosebumps because I've talked about it before. Like the first show I wrestled.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mixed feeling because no one knew who I was, which is understandable.
Yeah.
And I think I felt like I was trying too hard to get their attention, but after a while it worked. And then I go to that Rocket Rumble, and it's like I just came out here and they're fucking cheering. Like, okay,
yeah,
cool, I'm in. All right, cool, right, sweet.
Right, and now you're a mainstay there, and you're a champion there, and shit like that, dude. And that's what it's all about, It's like finding a way to make a name for yourself because it's only going to grow from there. Is there a company? Because we haven't mentioned it on here, but December's your final month of reffing. There's no more reffing after 2023.
Right. I mean, unless I'm done reffing for the company that works in December, but we'll see.
Well, right now, SCW and CSW are the only two companies you ref for.
Right? Yeah, but CSW will be done in November. They take they don't work in December.
Yeah.
So November will be the last one for CSW.
Do you know if you're going to be booked as a wrestler at CSW? Was that discussion ever made? Can you talk about that? I guess before I ask.
Nothing was discussed. When I did approach them about what's happening, I just told them I understand why that I'm not I can't be a wrestler right now based on the roster because that roster's full of guys and girls.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy that steps on toes. Yeah. Okay, I can go in the Futures Battle Royal. That's fine, whatever. But I don't mind doing things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And do other. I'd rather do that and be part of it than not do anything. I'm just. It's just being a rep is just not something I want to do right now anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna retire, even though it's taboo to use that word in wrestling. But I'm gonna put it away. The only time I'll rep is if it's for special charity shows and all that stuff. Gotcha. But not full time. I want to be done with it just to get my mind back. And then if I stop wrestling and want to rep, I'll go back. But lately, it's just been crap.
Yeah. Well, luckily the transition from ref to wrestler at SCW has been happening. Yeah, Rocket Pro Wrestling, IPW, SCW, CTW, you could be wrestling. That's where you're wrestling at now. And I can see ARW being a possibility more. DWA. Is there a company you haven't wrestled for that you may look at? What's going on with Northland? Or Northern Light, not Northland, Northern Lights.
As far as I know, Eddie's just been focusing on himself.
Gotcha.
Trying to lose weight and stuff. So, I mean, with all these companies, it's going to be hard for him to run now.
Yeah. Well, cheap plug. Kind of dive into a little. You want to do a little gimmick shit here? You want to gimmick a little while we're here?
Why not? It's your show. Yeah. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to come on your show and be like, oh, I want to do this and do that.
Right,
or I'm not going to do it.
We'll gimmick a little bit. September 30th, SCW has WrestleTopia out in Shaban's Civic Center, where the Amazing Turtle, Nubby over here, the Amazing Turtle has a chance at a high voltage championship, which is the title of the show that I general manage. You'll be taking on Warren C. Freiberg III Esquire, who has been champion for a little over 3 months now. Stipulation has been put in place where if Turtle loses, I have to be in a handicap match with the punitive damages for 5 minutes. It's not even really a match, it's just me being in the ring. So a lot of pressure there, Turtle, coming into September 30th. You either walk away with the title or I walk away with my ass kicked. Don't know how that happened, but that's a fact now. So we know you're. What's up?
I don't know. I don't know how that happened either.
Yeah, God. But WrestleTopia 4, the biggest show of SCW. You're going to be, in a sense, main eventing High Voltage, which starts at 6 o'clock, and main show doesn't start till 7. So I believe we're going to have 4 High Voltage matches. You're going to main event that portion of it. You had a title match last month, was unsuccessful. So this is the rematch for this month, and this is a pretty important opportunity here because there is no immediate rematches for people in High Voltage, so there's a definite difference here. So what's your mindset going into this match, knowing that now my fate lies in your hands?
Well, that added a lot of pressure because I don't want to see you get beat up.
I know. Nobody wants to see me get beat up. That's why I don't do things in the ring.
You belong behind the mic.
Right? The people who didn't know me at IPW didn't like the fact I got beat up at IPW. So imagine how people at SCW who know me, oh, they're going to riot.
The last riot we had at SCW is when we had that problem with Powell, and they were throwing chairs at him.
Yeah. But we did make a deal. I did make a deal with you and everything is I will honor the 5 minutes, but at 5:01, your ass is hitting that ring and saving my ass. So.
You're damn right I am.
But, Nubby, the big focus of this show was about friendship. And I'm glad I could call you a friend. I'm glad we reconnected after all these years and we're able to find a common bond in wrestling and in podcasting. And JFW has been able to continue because of guys like you and with the help of Pac-Man, makes it more consistent. And now you're, helping me out here to get a show of this freaking show out in the absence of Joey. And Joey will be back next week. Just a quick update on everyone on so next week, me and Joey are going to record a video where we're going to try extremely hot sauces and see how that goes. We're also going to record a couple episodes of this freaking show, and then the following week we're off to Wisconsin to film our cemetery vlogs for October. So big week ahead of us. For the JFW fans who are listening to this, 2 weeks from today, I will be doing the part 2 interview with Ivan Manson. Finally getting a chance to get that recorded. The first one was recorded actually a year ago this week, I think. Mm-hmm. So part 2, we're going to finally get a chance to record. I'm going to be out on his boat, which is terrifying the fuck out of me because I don't do water. I don't do boats, but I will do it for him. And I guess I'm going to be a guest on his new web series, paying dues, drinking booze, taking a boat cruise. I don't know what we're going to talk about because I don't have stories of the road and shit. So,
well, I can tell you he might be able to shed some light on the story I just told you. So.
Oh yeah, we're gonna. My biggest focus for him is we're going to talk about some of the biggest matches in his career that. We can talk about, we're going to talk about him, stepping back into the ring after retirement in that ARW match. And yeah, some show roads. I think I might put a post out there for wrestling fans to ask questions and stuff to to Ivan during our show. I think I might do that too. But to summarize everything between Labor Day, this coming Monday, and the following Saturday is Monday. We got a live stream. We got the Rocket Pro Wrestling live stream, the show where we're going to run down the season premiere of Rocket Pro Wrestling. And then we got to record JFW immediately after that. So we're going to have two JFW shows next week. That Saturday is Rocket Pro Wrestling. The day before, I'll be doing the hot sauce thing. That Sunday is my final day of rest before I head off to Wisconsin for Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm going to try to schedule a meeting or an interview with Mike Nolan. You guys know him as Acid. And then Friday or Saturday, I'm going to interview Ivan. So that's my vacation.
There's no vacation from podcast.
No. I'll be on vacation, air quotes, between the 11th and 20th or whatever the 21st, whatever the fuck it is. I don't remember. But yeah, it's gonna be a hell of a week, but I'm gonna get a lot of things done. And I do it for you, the listeners, and I do encourage you guys to continue to listen to our show. And Nubby, I do thank you for coming on. Next Saturday, Rocket Pro Wrestling Fall Brawl. Turtle will put up his Chicagoland Championship in a triple threat match against Matthews and Bucky Collins. That's in Joliet. The information to that show can be found on our Facebook page, or listen to the live stream that is going to happen Monday at 10 a.m., I believe.
Yep. At
10 a.m. to noon, the JFW is going to live stream some interviews and stuff with Rocket Pro Wrestling on Monday, so check that out for more information. Nubby will also go up against Warren Freiberg III Esquire in a high voltage title match at WrestleTopia September 30th. And what other shows you got coming up that you know of, or is that what you know of right now?
Oh no, I got CSW on the 15th.
Okay.
And then the following Saturday, the 20-something, 24th, I want to say, maybe, if I'm lying. No, the 23rd, Crash Tested Wrestling returns to Maryville. I'll be taking on Jared Estrada, a really big dude. And then I think it's the 24th, IPW. Yeah. Should be the 24th for IPW, and then WrestleTopia.
Perfect. Guys, you can find information on all those shows that he mentioned over on the JFW Facebook page. We put it out roughly around the same week that the shows happen, so make sure you're following JFW on all social media platforms as well as all podcasting platforms, and make sure you follow this freaking show here. You know what? We'll do it. Nubby, what are you freaking thinking about? Let's get a little bit of what are you freaking thinking about over here.
What am I thinking about? So what am I freaking thinking about?
Yeah, what are you freaking thinking about there, Nubby?
I'm freaking thinking about Rocket Pro next Saturday.
Man, it's a big one, man. Were you on the season premiere last year?
I was.
What did you do on that?
That was the Rocket Rumble, where I got that big pop just walking out there. And then I shell-shocked Marche Rocket.
Was that the Rocket Pro debut for you?
No, that was my second show. Gotcha. My first official wrestling match at Rocket Pro was Hicks on 66 the season before, where I brought the Chicagoland title from IPW, vacated it, it became Rocket Pro, and then I lost the match.
Gotcha. Well, let's pray for different outcomes. Let's pray you retain the title this coming Saturday. But no, it's a solid thought to be having, especially with the live stream coming up on Monday.
Yeah, but Travis, I have a question for you.
What's that?
What are you freaking thinking about?
Honestly, the next couple of weeks I mentioned is what's been a focal point for me over the course of the last few days. I finalized the the trip in Wisconsin, and I marked everything out to where we gotta be and where we need to be and all this stuff. And I think I got down to a point where if I leave my house by 4:30 a.m. on Monday, we should be at the hotel by 5. And if we leave the hotel by 9 a.m. on Tuesday, I should be home by 5 p.m. And that's pending, obviously traffic and everything, but I narrowed down the travel time in between cemeteries and given about 30 minutes per cemetery, because I want to try to limit the length of the videos. Like, I don't want them to be too long. I just want to get the highlights of the cemeteries. Testing all the new equipment we bought. I bought a gimbal. We're going to record off my phone instead of a camcorder. I got some lapel mics that are Bluetooth to my phone. So I got to test some of that stuff out, make sure everything's working well with it, because we're going to try to do a new style recording. Obviously I bought some hot sauce from Elijah's Hot Sauce. If you guys don't know what that is, it's all over TikTok. If you just search Elijah Hot Sauce, it'll pop up. We bought the entire set of them that me and Cartoon Joe are going to try and shoot a YouTube video for Freakin Studios on, to give that a go. And we're trying to plan that out. And also, I want to make sure, I make it to Rocket Pro Wrestling for the season premiere, the fan access beforehand, the Nova Awards and stuff like that. So I'm trying to plan out the next, and obviously the live stream. So I'm trying to plan out the next, 14 days of my life to make sure that I have everything planned, everything set up, and everything's good to go. Because the biggest thing I need to also make sure is, with us doing 12 cemeteries, I got 12 videos I need to edit by October 1st. And I need to take one of those vacation days to pretty much do editing, which we don't detail edit. We just kind of, get the raw footage out there and throw a beginning and end. Basically like our audios, throw a beginning and end in there and all this other shit to make it, look a little decent. But yeah, and then, obviously my full-time job is still going to be a thing when I come back. So it's going to be one of the things where I just have to, crunch everything I can into one spot. And, so it's been a little bit stressful thinking about it. But I think now that it's all coming together, hotel is booked. I gotta make sure I get my oil changed right before we go, because it's pretty close, but I could probably get the next week or so out of it before I have to take it in for an oil change. And yeah, just gonna enjoy a road trip. And this one should be a little bit nicer than Indiana because it's not as much driving, which I'm really excited about. That's just a little of what I've been thinking about.
Only a little bit.
Only a little bit. Nubby, thank you again for helping me out with this and being here with me as we record an episode of this freaking show. Look at you branching out and shit and seeing exciting new things. Guys, remember Turtle is a co-host of mine on Just Freakin Wrestling, the JFW podcast, along with Pac-Man, who also hosts his own podcast, the Lovely Intoxicated Podcast, hosted by the Lovely Intoxicated Men. So make sure you check that out as well. They comedically talk about wrestling, and I don't know, they're bickering with each other.
They're supposed to be on the same page now, but apparently the simp is causing some trouble again.
Yeah.
I'm getting blamed for something now.
I realized that I never listened to the rest of that episode, and I finally went and did it, and those guys cannot get along. It is nutty. But Pac-Man does host the Love Intoxicated podcast. It's on YouTube and Facebook, and he also is now a new co-host of the Power Hour. And come to find out, we'll talk about it on Monday. Yeah, we'll talk about it on Monday. Guys, that's all I got. So, as always, I am Travis.
I am Nubby the Amazing Turtle, Cowabunga.
And thank you for listening to another episode of this freaking show. I'm out.